the cyber, culture, the global education meeting, and everything you're doing, all I can say is just keep leaning on that elephant. It's wonderful. Thank you very much. I know you can't have any questions. And I usually stop questions dead in their track. There's not a chance anyone would ask a question. No one would have the courage in a room to ask a question. I know that. So, Bill, we might as well just walk away and get the picture taken because no one will ask a question. See?
We're all too intimidated.
You got the message, though. More evidence. More evidence. More evidence. I guess, Bill.
Are there any questions?
Yes.
I just have a comment first. I just appreciate the lesson on economics as far as supply and demand because I never looked at it quite in that way. So that's quite interesting. But just I guess an observation of mine, a thought process that I've gone through for years is about the about the ESOL programs, which are, you know, absolutely necessary for children who come in from all over the world who want to learn how to speak English. What is your perspective on their support of L1?
The perspective is bilingual education in the United States has a very bad reputation because that term, because it was subtractive. It says stop speaking your language, just the way we did with Native American children. Actually, we punish them severely if they ever use one of their native languages. Stop focusing on that. Forget about that, learn English. Right now, that's what dual language immersion can do, and that's what actually happened is bilingual education in the United States is adopting the dual language immersion model more and more. Now, it's not in universities because in universities you got this rush to get some language skills in place and so on. But when you do that, the message has to be, you got to get this language, otherwise you can't survive here, blah, blah, blah. However, you send the message, but what you have is an incredible asset. And I was speaking to the Dean of Business last night, and I said, I project, and you'll confirm this or not, that you already graduate, probably 50% of your graduates are bilingual or close to it. I'd be willing to bet it's pretty close to that. And what I'm looking for is the first university in the country who says, we graduate specialists in all disciplines able to join the global workforce, and they're all bilingual. Someday, some way. But it doesn't have to be all, and it doesn't have to be a great fluency. But these people, every one of our graduates, understand the notion of global workforce and their place in it. Wouldn't that be a great thing? And by the way, I'm sure you're at least halfway there, and probably more. Yes?
Give you a little context to the question. I love your suggestion. I'm the president of really Atlanta's only boarding school, and every 3 students in my school is from a different country. So the opportunity there is off the charts.
Yeah.
It's why I get excited every day to go to work.
Yeah.
But schools, especially independent schools, which we are a nonprofit, they get stuck in a rut in their foreign or world or global language program to typically offer the same 3 languages. I think every school I've worked at in the last 25 years. Do you have a perspective on that? It's complicated. What languages do we offer? There's so many to choose from. And then you're talking about funding and upping tuition and, you know, all those other challenges. But I just would like to get your perspective on that.
You know, I'm working with the IB right now, the International Baccalaureate Organization, and they have this bilingual program all over the world, and they have even a bilingual diploma, right? And they're facing this same issue, and they're asking us to help them work it out. What we're trying to do first is to try to find a way to link private schools like this and public schools with dual language immersion programs in the vicinity. where you actually, and with heritage community schools and so on, where, you know, it is, I can't even begin to imagine the money problems and the market and so on. But, and as you know, bilingual, IB is Spanish, French, and English, right? And they have that same problem, how to get away from that. And in the United States, it's not succeeding very well. And that's why we're trying to work on that. So I can't give you an answer because you'll know it's wrong. But I'd love to work with you and just talk to you a little bit more about as we work along with the IB program. It might be really helpful to get the insights and transfer to you. Deal?
Hi, I had a question. My name is Sam Tandon from World Trade Center. Just want to know, is there any age group that you would say that the best time to teach a language?
The best time to teach a language, of course, is young because they have no inhibitions and they have time to practice. When you're 22 and you're in a job or in a university, you have lots of inhibitions and you have no time to practice. Okay? So there's no question. That's why this dual language immersion is starting in kindergarten, and its most successful is up to 5th grade at this stage. Okay? But having said that, the bilingual bonus I'm talking about, okay? The bilingual bonus of having an a better cognitive function for critical and creative thinking. The latest study in India, and I'm mixing numbers now, at least 100,000. India, monolingual and bilingual. The symptoms of Alzheimer's and dementia are delayed by 5 years. Think about that. And so, you know, if I were working on Alzheimer's, I'd launch a major language program for older people. By the way, and the data do show, by the way, whenever you start, it's proportional. Your cognitive increase is proportional to when you started and how long you were at it. It all is about using language. It's not what language you know. It's you have to inhibit and focus. You have to switch and so on, constantly exercising that muscle. Okay? So the answer is, with children, they get into it like crazy. You can do this with adults. In the flagship programs, we're turning out people 3s and 4s, and they use the language. You get into a job where you use the language all the time, those abilities are proven to arise then and to maintain. The only time we don't see the cognitive advantage of bilingualism is people between 19 and 24, 26. Well, it's simple. They're at their height in cognitive advantages. They're at that's where the mathematicians, right? You're an old math, you're past your prime in math, right? After 26. But it just means it just washes out. It's there, it washes out. But before and after, those advantages are real and documented.
Hi, my name is Albert Sort. I'm the Vice President of the National Minority Trucking Association. I just wanted to make a comment or reiterate the importance of multiple languages. At least once a month or every other month, we get calls from corporations looking for corporate talent because of the growth of globalization and the global supply chain. But we find that there's not a lot of minorities who have the experience or training in the transportation, logistics, or global supply chain education. So what we're doing now is we're trying to team up with high schools and middle schools to teach kids right now that they're young the different opportunities in transportation and logistics that are out there for them as we grow. You know, so I think it's really important. So our strategy is get them while they're young, so we'll have a pipeline for these corporations to be able to tap into.
I love it. I have a friend in London. He's the head of UBS Italy and the research institution and so on. And he launched a program just like this, starting in 8th grade through the graduation and secondary school in hacking. Hacking is the poorest district of London. And just that same thing, by adopting a school and And you know, and again, it's not just about language. It is about language if you want to speak to your grandparents, and that's the most important thing there is in the world as a grandparent. And so on. It is that. But you can make the argument to the school boards, to the principals, and so on, that this is, if you can actually execute this, and that's where the dual language immersion is so effective, because you're using both languages half a day, or interspersed and so on. It's not just you're taking lessons and writing down grammar rules. You use the language to learn the standard curriculum, and it's all about use. So those adopting of these programs and trying to infuse it and looking for dual language immersion programs. And I have an alliance of dual language immersion programs. If you're interested, I'll tell you where they are, and I'll send you a partner. We're working now with Gwinnett, right as it's speaking, in dual language immersion. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, if anybody's interested in dual immersion, certainly we have Patrick Wallace from the DOE here. But I work in Hull County, Georgia. We have the largest dual immersion program pre-K through. They're going into 10th grade next year. So we would be more than happy to support you or help you. Patrick is over there. Raise your hand, Patrick. So there are lots of folks in the room, lots of language leaders in the room as well. So
Go ahead, Patrick.
Carrie, thank you for that great introduction there. My name is Patrick Wallace, and if I haven't had a chance to meet you, I really would like to. I am the new program specialist for world languages and global workforce initiatives at the Georgia Department of Education. And I come from the teaching background, so I came right out of the classroom in December and right into this job. And I've seen many things coming in from that perspective, gave me a lot of fresh perspective on what's happening. I can tell you, I am daily excited and encouraged by what I see at the Department of Ed and what I see in this position. But one broad avenue that I see, and why I'm so happy to be here today, is this synergy piece. Because whether all of our programs, whether they're high school, FLES, whether they are middle school, whether they're dual language immersion, they are all working in partnership toward the same sort of goal. I think our seal of biliteracy gives all our programs a target to shoot for. And I have started reaching out to our university programs. I think that there is much to be gained by greater synergy in the Lead with Languages campaign and all of these things that are going on. There's so much positive energy in that regard, and we need to continue that. I can tell you that what I hear is the message is being heard. The message is out. Since coming into office, I've been interviewed multiple times, and I feel a little like sorry for all the other departments because there's not as much attention sometimes turned to them. Everybody wants to know what's dual language immersion, what's seal of biliteracy. Tell me about this international skills diploma seal you have going on. What is going on with the global workforce initiative? How is all this happening between German American Chamber of Commerce, all of these different entities getting involved in the workforce equation that are international in aspect? We have such great pieces here, and what's so awesome is to have CULTR here, and Georgia State University just steps away, literally, from our offices there. So I just want to encourage all of you to be engaged and to join together and to celebrate these connective tissues, such as this conference here today, because these things make a difference. And I'm here, and look, guys, I'm tweeting everything at the Atlanta superintendent. You know what I mean? I'm letting them know about what's going on. That's what we got to be. As a teacher, I always so upset with other teachers because they didn't tell the world the great things they were doing. And we don't do that enough, whether you're in a classroom or whether you're in the international department of some agency or a company. We need to raise our voices, and voices are being raised. And it's nonstop. I mean, I don't see any end in sight. I always tell people that if you flip to the end of the book, it's a happy ending. But there are a lot of chapters in between, and it's going to require a lot of work. So I guess what I would ask for is just any comments you have about synergy and about the need for that, because I really see that from my position as well. And I have such great supporters here.
See, that's brilliant, by the way. And you understand that We will be bilingual. 25, 30 years, maybe 50. We're going to be bilingual because the whole world is. We're just trying to hurry it up, right? That's all we're doing here. We're just trying, I mean, come on. It's a bilingual world. That's the normal state of human activity and human communication is bilingual, multilingual, or 7 languages if you're in Nigeria or whatever else it is. So, and all we're trying to do is take this, my favorite concept of never mistake a clear vision for a short distance and trying to shorten that distance a little bit. It's a long ways. And on this topic, I think it's a great topic on the synergy. By the way, the state of Utah, you probably know, is they have this statewide dual language immersion program. What's most interesting, dual language immersion drops kids when they can't get disciplined teachers who know the languages. And so it starts in middle school and high school. It's very hard to find bilingual teachers and so on. But Utah legislature has mandated that the universities in Utah must provide courses for dual language students in high school. They have to, so that when, and of course they want to because those students are going to come to them, right? And so that's one of the best synergies I've seen. But notice it was mandated by the state legislature. Now Utah is an exception. I mean, their population, they understand bilingualism because of the missions and so on. They spend a lot of time abroad. But wouldn't it be nice, wouldn't it be nice to have universities pick up on this K-12 by reaching in and providing instruction there so that they get advanced placement here and come to where we want them to be to build on what they have. I love it. You're absolutely right. Are we out of time?
Can I say one thing really quickly? I do appreciate you giving a shout out and recognition to K-12 with all the activity taking place in K-12 and all the great things. All of the great things taking place in K-12. And you called it a blowout and the higher ed needs to be ready. And it's sort of a warning to higher ed. They must pick up the slack. They must do things. Far too many universities have a foreign language requirement to get in, but yet they don't require any kinds of credit. Far too few majors require a foreign language too. So higher ed needs to get the message too and get on board with that blowout that's coming.
I think we're going to see supply demand. We're going to see demand pushing the supply system in higher education. If we don't respond, those kids are going to walk. Right now, the language enrollments in higher education are down from 8%, which is paltry, down to 7%. But I don't believe their young people in the universities don't care about language. They're just going around the system. They don't need 101 and 102 anymore. And they're not going to enroll in that. They'll go to Duolingo at Carnegie Mellon. They'll go to any place else they want to. If we don't give them what they want, they'll get it their way, not our way. Go ahead.
You know, one of the things you hear from faculty, specifically in language departments, is pushback against that. Say, well, then we're just instrumentalizing education. All we're focusing on is careers and jobs. And some will tell me, well, that's just the corporatization of higher education. So what do you say to that?
Part of what we're doing when we do accreditation, how do you accreditate a Lang and Lit program, or do you accredit the language program inside a Lang and Lit program in order to face that issue, okay? There's no question that our tradition of language and literature is a difficult one. Some of my best friends are in literature, Bill, with all due respect.
Some of my former friends.
Yeah, I do get that. And that's a battle we are fighting, but I believe you will see the bow wave happening. I think it's going to be impossible to resist this. You either want enrollments, and a dean will say, that, I have a good friend, the dean at UT Austin, who called in his language program. They have a very large language program there at UT Austin. He said, I got news for you. You're relevant or you're gone. Really, really. That sound familiar? And you know what? The literature, everyone should do literature. If you don't know Pushkin, you don't know Russian. And you know, I'm sorry, it's true. We can build that in. We know how to do that, and it's so important. You can't talk to people. At NSA, the first time I worked with the head of a major department in the National Security Agency, she quoted not Pushkin, but the Pleiada around Pushkin, the secondary poets, and she started quoting the poetry of these people. This is one of the best government people we ever saw, but she knows Russian, and she has to do literature. However, you don't lead with literature. What do you lead with, Marty? Yeah, okay, and it's a fight, Bill, but I think that the market, frankly, is going to win that for us. We keep leaning on it, but these kids are coming, and they're beautiful.
All right, thank you, Bill. Last year, we started a global competency survey, and we sent this out to everybody who participated in the Global Languages Leadership meeting. We're going to expand that and send it out as broadly as possible, and it's something that you can feel free to forward to colleagues and coworkers in your networks. But what we want to know from you is exactly like, what is the demand? How do you define global competency in your field, and how does it fit in with the kind of work that you do, and what is that demand, as a way to try to quantify this and use data to bolster our argument. I guarantee it's not a long survey. It's very, very short. It'll take 5 minutes.
Can I just do something before you?
Sure.
I have to apologize. I'm a co-founder of a startup. My daughter is the chief CEO. And if I don't tell you one thing about it, she'll kill me. It's called Global Professional Search, and it's to find jobs, connect people who lived abroad and have language ability to companies who need either the language ability or the critical and creative thinking. That's why it's called Global Professional Search. My daughter is brilliant. The company is a startup, and you should see what the demand is starting to do. So I'm done. Well, I have a card if you need it. My daughter wants me to get rid of the card.
Yeah, and she was supposed to be here for this, so.
Don't work for your daughter.
Yeah. So this leads me into the next of the next steps, which is World Languages Day. We want everybody here to participate. I want Global Professional Search there. So please spread the news about that. Go to our website, register your organization. If it's a business, a nonprofit, whatever it is, we want to get word out to students about how languages can really benefit their careers. So keep an eye out for an email from CULTR about the Global Competency Survey, the World Languages Day, and another thing that we want to develop, because what we're trying to do is look at what are low-cost but high-impact initiatives that we can undertake. The Global Competency Survey will give us data. What we would also like to do is develop one-page profiles of organizations, businesses, etc., of how global skills fit into your career field, and create essentially a compendium of different types of career opportunities and how global skills, however that's defined, whether it's language ability, global competence through study abroad, etc. So then we can say, well, take this to a student or to a principal, to a dean, etc., and say, look, here's what this company says they can do, or what they're looking for in a workforce, how global skills fit in with their business plan and their initiatives. The last thing that I want to mention is mark May 11th, 2018 on your calendar. Get that locked in. We have our speaker. We would love to see you all there next year. Thank you for attending this year. I think we're ready for Steve to take our picture. Thank you again for attending.